Hey, I'm Olivia,
And hey, I'm Dad.
and you're listening to Soarin' Around WDW. Bonjour, les amis. This is the last time that I get to say that because today is our final recap episode of our Disneyland Paris trip. I will likely do a little mini-sode with Eiley for Patreon, but for the regular feed, this is it. Today, I have with me on the podcast my cousin Latoya. So, welcome back. It's been a hot minute since you've been on with me.
Bonjour. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. For those of you who are new to the show and didn't hear her two episodes early on in the podcast, Latoya is my cousin, but we grew up extremely close and she's more like a sister than a cousin. She has two girls, London, age 9, and Liv, who is 7, almost 8. And our girls are super close. So before we get into this Paris trip, you've been to Paris once before, or well, actually twice before, but Disneyland Paris you've been to, but it's been a long time, like over 10 years. So for that initial trip, when you went to Disneyland Paris, did you stay in the city and take the train, or like where were you staying when you guys went to Disneyland Paris the first time?
Yeah, I've been there once before and I was staying in the city. So we just took it over for the day. So this with you was my first time experiencing the hotels and being able to spend more time there, which was really nice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's definitely nice to stay on property. I know a lot of people do the train from the city into the park and for the day or whatever, but I definitely felt like it was worth it to stay on property, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here soon. Were there any rides that kind of stood out from your first trip that you remembered or that you were excited to go back to or not excited to go back to or anything like that?
I guess a ride that I was not so excited to go back to, and we didn't end up doing that, was Peter Pan.
Okay, yeah.
And a ride that I was super excited to go back to was Manor.
Cool. Yeah, their Phantom Manor is so, so cool. Did you guys go to the other park or just Disneyland Paris when you went the last time?
Just Disneyland Paris. And still, I didn't go to the other park on this trip either. So I've still not been there.
Yeah, that's okay. I feel like you're not missing that much over there. It's just, it's a different, we'll get into my thoughts on Disney Adventure World slash Disney Studios Park, whatever it used to be called. But I don't think you're missing that much over there. So back to our current trip. As you heard on the first part of the recap with Maddie, we had quite the flight situation. The same day that we were supposed to leave, we had that text message that said, uh-oh, now you are leaving 2.5 hours earlier and on a direct flight and on a different airline, which ended up putting us all in separate seats, even though we initially booked seats all together on our first booking with Iceland Air. So mid-flight, you kind of came to check on Blake and I because we were way far away from everyone else, but you got kind of seated by Maddie and Eiley. Have you ever heard of those Reddit threads where people say, like, am I the villain? Have you heard of that before?
No. Would I say what?
They say like, am I the villain? So they tell a story where they think they're in the right, but then other people are like, no, you're actually the villain. And so like they're asking like, wait, am I the villain or am I right here, basically? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm curious to hear what people think about this dude that was behind me and how he was, in my opinion, super rude. So tell the listeners the story about how you came to check on Blake and I and kind of how this guy was.
I might be the villain. I don't know. So I went to come and see you guys since we were supposed to be sitting next to each other. And I just walked over, like, wanted to see how you were doing, wanted to see if Blake had slept at all. And this guy sitting right behind Olivia goes, would you mind not hovering? And I'm like, sir, like, I'm just talking to my family. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're just hovering here for a long time. And I'm like, do you see all these other people walking around the
Yeah.
flight? Like, it wasn't a time I was supposed to have my seatbelt on. I was not that long, just wanted to check in. And it was so awkward. But maybe I'm the villain.
Yeah, so it's so funny. I like was telling this story to somebody at work and I was like, and it was literally 5 minutes. And I think he was dramatic and he said when he said like you've been sitting there a long time and he said like for half an hour. And I turned around and I was like, it's literally been 5 minutes, sir. Like calm down. And I told somebody the story at work and they're like, well, it was a nighttime flight. So like maybe you shouldn't be talking during a nighttime flight. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, am I wrong here? And then other people were like, no, like that's a totally reasonable thing to do. It's not like you were yelling and laughing and having this whole conversation. So I thought that was like, oh, okay, are we the villain here or is it this guy? Everybody let us know in the comments because I feel like he was the
Yeah,
villain.
you were whispering and he wasn't sleeping.
Exactly. Yeah,
Let me know.
exactly. And he was not French. He was American from ECU, like Greenville, North Carolina. So that made me even more annoyed. Was just like, ugh, it's not even a culture thing. Like you're from here. So just like, no, I can't. It was very interesting. And then when we got to Paris, we used Easy Go shuttle. What was your opinion on doing like the car service like that versus taking a taxi or Uber with the kids?
I have always done the train when I was there before, which is super easy to use. I like it, but this car service was awesome. It was really nice with all the luggage that we had. They met us right there with a sign. I feel like if you're not super comfortable trying to navigate signs in another country, like you just have to follow them, you don't have to worry about trying to figure them out. And the car was so comfy and nice after traveling that long to just kind of relax and someone else do like the driving and just chill was great.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think it was worth a little bit of extra money to do that instead of lugging everything to the train. And you didn't have that much stuff. I feel like I had so much stuff. I'm not a great packer. I overpack. I brought a lot of things, but I do think it just would have been way too much to take the train on this trip. So when we got into Paris, I told a lot of the stories of that when Maddie was on, but there was one in particular that I wanted to tell because you're here that I did not share last time. And that was we went to go see the Arc de Triomphe. And Sweet Liv, your daughter, was like, oh, I really want to see the Arc de Triomphe. I really want to see the Arc de Triomphe. And I was like, okay, girl, yeah, let's go see the Arc de Triomphe. So we're walking and we're getting there and I can see it. And she's like, where is it? And I'm like, it's up there. It's, you can see it through the trees. And she was like, I don't see it. Okay. And then she said something about a zip line. And I was like, what is she talking about? There's a zip line. Where did she see a zip? I'm like, trying to think of movies where like they were in France. And then all of a sudden she was like, Triumph. This is not Triumph. So explain to everybody what Triumph is and why. Poor Liv was so confused and disappointed.
She was so disappointed. So where we live, we have a place called Trump, which is like up in the trees, zip lining, climbing, like adventure course. Every time we were saying Arc de Triomphe, she's just assuming like, oh, they have a Triumph here. And I thought it was so weird that she wanted to see Arc de Triomphe so badly. I'm like, I mean, yeah, we are here. Like, we're definitely going to do that. But like, why are you so excited about that? Like, usually it's like the Eiffel Tower that's more interesting to kids. And we get there and she was so disappointed. She's like,
Yeah.
this is what we're here to see.
Yes, it was such a
Poor
bummer. Poor
girl.
Liv. She was just like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go back now. I'm done. And by this point, we were exhausted because we had flown all night, checked into took the car ride, which took longer than we thought, checked into the hotel, but our room wasn't ready, walked to lunch, and then we walked there. So it was like, she's been up. They did not sleep on the plane, so she was exhausted. And so it was just like so funny. She's like, all right, I'm done. Time to go back to the hotel. I don't want to do this anymore. So I thought that was a hilarious story. So we ate a lot of pretty good food in Paris, but not really French food per se. Was there anywhere we ate or any place that you've been before in Paris or that we ate at this time that you would recommend as like a must go to for food?
Yes, Olivia handled finding all of the restaurants while we were on this trip, which is a tough job, but she did an amazing job. Everywhere that we ate was so good, but my favorite was definitely Chez Zong. the Chinese. We just got a ton of different dishes and everyone shared and everything was amazing. I would go back there if I was lucky enough to go to Paris again. We didn't go there this trip, but from previous times that I've been in Paris, I really loved Pink Mama, which I know has gotten more touristy, but it's just so beautiful. The food is not anything like the most amazing food I've ever had, but it's good food. But the restaurant itself is just so beautiful that I loved that place too.
Yeah, that's a place that I wish we would have had time to go to, but we just did not have as much time this trip in the city, and it did look very beautiful. So that's on my list if I ever get to go back to Paris too. So when we get to the Eiffel Tower, you had this vision of having the kids do this baguette fight from Mary-Kate and Ashley and like being on the grass and all of this stuff because that's how it was the last time that you were there just a couple of years ago. And the last time that I was there a while ago, the grass was all kind of like open. You were able to be on it. You were, sitting down having picnics. But then we get there and it's all fenced off. So we did not know that. You had not seen anything like posted about that on Instagram or anything, right?
Nothing. You like picture going to the Eiffel Tower, like bringing picnic stuff with you, like lounging on the grass and just like taking in the Eiffel Tower. And there was none of that. Every area was completely fenced off and you could just go on sidewalks around it.
Yeah, and so I looked up like why this was after we got back because I was just like, I don't understand why this is happening and like why it was fenced off. And it just says that they do it periodically to allow the grass to recover from heavy foot traffic. And so usually it's in the winter, but then by the summer it's open. But I mean, we were there in the summer. I guess it technically wasn't summer yet, but it is such a bummer that it is all, I mean, it's just not the same to see the Eiffel Tower like that. So hopefully for people that it's their first time, that's not how they see it. Hopefully when you go, it is not fenced off because it definitely wasn't as magical.
Yeah, I agree.
So we ended up taking the bus, which you had never done before, over to Luxembourg Gardens, and you had done the metro and like the train, but you'd never done the bus there. What were your thoughts on using the bus system instead of taking the metro or like a taxi?
I thought the bus was great. I was very skeptical about doing it because I've always done the metro, which is also super easy to navigate. But it was very clean and nice because you're seeing things along the way where you don't get to see that when you're on the metro. So I loved it.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was a nice surprise too. I was hopeful that it would be clean because I had read that, but you never know. Like city buses can sometimes be kind of questionable, but we had a good experience. And then kind of talk through our time at Luxembourg Gardens and what were the highlights there for you. I know you've been there before, so why would you recommend for people, especially people with kids, to go to Luxembourg Gardens?
I love it there. It's just like a good place to leisurely stroll around, take your time, like enjoy the afternoon. Usually you can just like sit on the grass, but this time you weren't allowed to go on the grass. So I don't know
That was
why
the theme
that
of our
was,
trip.
but yeah, plenty of chairs and it's huge to just stroll around. It's so beautiful. It's amazing for the kids because they have these little sailboats that they give them and they push them like around the water and then like just run around, follow their sailboats and push them again. And it's a lot of fun. It gets their energy out. There's a playground right there, a carousel there. It's one of my kids' favorite grounds in Paris because it has a little zip line on it that they remembered from being there before. A great place to walk around and spend a couple of hours. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And it's nice that a majority of things, like you don't have to spend money there, but it's very inexpensive. Like there was a small fee to get into the playground, but it was like €1 or two. And it's just very well, obviously maintained and clean and safe. And I didn't feel like uncomfortable or like there were any like sketchy people around there at all. So it was a good experience. And then the river cruise that we did, I know you've done river cruises before. Kind of what were your thoughts? Was it the same place? Because I know you had said like, oh, I think this might be the same company or same area that we went to. Was it the same river cruise company?
It wasn't the same company, but same like location on the Seine where you get on. The one that I did before was at night, and that was really pretty with the Eiffel Tower. And then this one was during the day, which I think you got to see a lot more, but both just nice. It's to just like relax, not do so much thing, but kind of just get a feel for where everything is.
Yeah, definitely a nice thing with kids too, because they were definitely tired of walking and we're starting to get a little bit like, okay, our feet hurt, we're tired. And so they went back with you and my mom to kind of rest a little bit while we pushed Blake in the stroller through the city. But the boat was a great way for them to see more without having to use their legs. So that was a nice thing. Was there anything besides Pink Mama that we didn't get to do that you think that we should have done? Or if we were to go back, you would definitely want to make sure that we hit that spot?
Something that Lily wanted to do that has never been on my list because to me the Eiffel Tower is the best view, but she really wanted to go up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And so I feel like for her, she needs to get to do that and she didn't get to. I like going to Shakespeare's book store. We didn't get to
Mm,
do that
yeah.
this trip. I think it would be cool when they're older to take them to Moulin Rouge. I've gotten to do that before, and it's just so iconic to Paris, and the performers are amazing. There's just so much. It's hard to fit it all in.
Yeah, it is hard to fit it all in, and we were on a very, very tight time crunch this time. So heading over to Disneyland Paris, the big thing that you were in charge of and you kind of figured out how to do it and how to sign up. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm so bogged down with all these other details. I did not look into this at all. And that was the Royal Gathering. And so you kind of found the process to sign up. So explain to people kind of what the process was to get a spot for Royal Gathering and what your thoughts were on the actual experience.
That was amazing. So if you're staying at the Disneyland Hotel, which is beautiful and highly recommend, um, they have an option in the app where you can sign up for a royal gathering, which is just like a one-on-one time for you and your family to meet a princess. And you don't get to know ahead of time what princess it is, but that's kind of also part of the fun. Like they were just so excited to be
Yeah.
surprised by who they walk in the room with. And you pick a time and you go and do it, and you have your own time with the princess. It's in a really cute section of the hotel that has books and all these characters like hidden the room that the kids liked looking for. The princesses were all amazing, and right after you finish your encounter, you can book another one. So you could do as many as you want to or can fit into your schedule. But it was such a nice perk to not have to wait in line at the park and do that. And every princess was just so sweet with them, spent so much time. It was amazing.
Yeah, and we came during the summer, so we were obviously there in June, which is a popular time to go, and it was over a weekend, and we did not have trouble getting our initial reservation or our second reservation. Like as soon as we were done, we booked another one for later, and so that was super nice. And we could have done a third, but we just kind of ran out of time because we only had such limited time all together. But it was, yeah, definitely a magical experience to have one-on-one time like that. And it wasn't like you're waiting in this crowded room and then you get taken in. It was really just us. And the second time, I think there was like one family ahead of us. So that was really nice too. And at Disneyland Hotel, they do offer a kids club, which does provide 2 hours free each day for, the kids to spend time there. You can check them in for 2 hours. And we had wanted to try that out too, but also ran out of time because we're trying to get the kids prepped for the kids club when we do the cruise because we really hope to utilize that a good bit for them if they like it and we think they'll enjoy it. And this is one of the few years that they can be together. I thought it was the last year that they can be together because then once London turns 11, I think it's 11, they split up. So then they go to like Edge. And then once they are 14, they go to Vibe because they like to be together. And that's the hard part
Yes.
is like the older girls are all always, wanting to be together and get to be together because they're very close in age. But Blake is so much younger that a lot of times she gets excluded. So when they all four can be together, I feel like that's key.
Yeah, and
So
let's talk about what Blake did she get to be included in on this trip?
Yes. So Blake got to go on Big Thunder Mountain. So we were very excited that she hit the height limit. And it was funny because London was like not sure about it. And I kept telling her, no, it's like Mine Train, but just a little faster. Like you're gonna love it. It's not upside down. And she was like, no. But then Blake went on it, who was 3 at the time, almost 4. And so London was like, all right, fine, I'll try it. And she loved it. So that was so special.
It was so much fun. I think we did it like 5 or 6 times, and it was so nice that Blake got to do that.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And we also kind of made this park day plan different than how I usually would do it. We let each kid pick what their top ride was. So, what were your thoughts on how that played out? Did you like that strategy, especially at a park we weren't as familiar with? Or do you feel like that gave them like too much leeway in the planning?
I think Disneyland Paris is small enough that that worked out because nothing is too far away. And I thought
Yeah.
it was nice for them to kind of direct, what they wanted to do, and it worked out.
Yeah, I agree. It worked out really well, and they all really enjoyed it, which was great. If you want to walk around the park with a drink, it would be a bottled drink. And one theme of this trip was the realization that they don't believe in ice cubes in France. Maybe they don't, not that they don't believe in them, but they don't use them. And I'm an ice queen. I want that full ice, very cold water. I know it's supposedly better for you for it to be like closer to room temperature, but I love ice. And I think I have like pica or something. Maybe it's like my anemia, but asking for ice on the girls' day, which we'll get into in a little bit, is like one of my key memories from this trip. And that was something just like realizing at Disneyland Paris, like, oh, so they don't let you walk around with like drink cups. Like they give you a reusable cup. And at McDonald's too, which we'll talk about, if you eat in the restaurant, they give you like this plastic, like Dollar Tree cup that they wash and reuse, which is so wild to me.
Yeah, we were definitely missing our ice.
Yeah. That was just like thrown in there. I don't know why I put that note in here. I guess because we ate lunch somewhere in there and realized the cups were not takeable. We could not walk around with a cup of, ice and Coke. So for the fireworks, we decided to do a reserved spot. That was something that I had read that was key. And so do you feel like the reserved seating space, which ended up being standing for the fireworks, was worth it, or do you feel like that wasn't necessarily worth our time?
No, I thought it was really nice. And I saw that they also offered that for the parades too. And I think
Yeah.
those are nice offerings for Disneyland that we don't have here. Is like if you want to spend a little extra money, there's a lot of different things that you can like cut some time out and pay for. And it was really nice because it's at night and after a long day in the park, and we just kind of brought the kids exactly to where we needed to be. We didn't
Yeah.
have to sit for over an hour. Some of the people were there 2 hours early waiting for a spot. We got to just ride rides during that time. It was 100% worth it and a great view, and like one of my favorite parts of Disneyland Paris.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree. And that's like in Disneyland in California, they have a lot more dining packages where you get a spot, and they do that for their nighttime parade. But it is nice to not have to do like that meal that like the kids don't even eat most of it, and you're paying all this money, and just be able to pay like what it costs for the spot. And for the parade though, the next day, I feel like we just got really lucky because we ended up right across the street from the reserve section, but tell everybody kind of about our parade experience.
Yeah, I would have paid to not have this experience. So I got there probably 30 minutes early to hold everybody's
Yeah,
spot. So not terrible. And it was a great spot. But something that Disneyland Paris does for the fireworks and for the parades is like when it's right about to start, they make everybody like stand up and like push towards, which then just caused like all the people that strolled up at the end to kind of be in your business. And it feels very crowded then.
yeah.
So this mom asked like, "Oh, can my boys like get in front of you guys?" And so here we are, like we've hold this spot down, and now we have like 3 children that aren't ours, like up on the front with our girls, like
Yeah.
blocking Blake's view, who's in her stroller. She's like having to look around them. And yeah, I didn't love that.
Well, and like she was literally resting, or somebody, either you or Maddie, now I can't remember. I think it was you, said somebody was like resting their phone, like basically on your shoulder, like trying to get video. And you're just like, excuse me, I am not your family. Like, please get
Yes,
off of me.
yes. Or their arms just like coming around my face because they can't see. I did not like that. So yeah, I think we should have paid for reserved parade as well.
Okay, this is good to know. Good to know because I thought our spot was great, but you're right, it was less obviously crowded. And if you watch the YouTube vlogs of this, I just got done editing our first day vlog, so not the parade, but the first day vlog. And when we watched the fireworks, we still had to stand and scoot up, but there was space. Like Eiley was dancing around and we all had like a little bit of space. It wasn't as crowded. So
Yeah.
we used the Premier One access for Big Thunder the third time before you guys left. We decided to purchase because I think the line was like 45 minutes or an hour long. And we waited in the hour-long line the day before, which ended up being like 80 minutes instead of an hour. And then at night when we rode with London for her first time, our first day, it was had dropped down to like 30 minutes. And I don't even think it was a 30-minute wait. So, what do you think about the Premier access that they have where you can purchase it just for the one ride in comparison to like our Lightning Lane multi-pass system at Disney? Do you feel like that is better or worse than how we have to like pick three rides a week before and things like that?
I loved it. I thought it was super simple. We just decided last minute. We just pulled our phones up, did it on the app. It was quick. Like, I feel like our version of it, Lightning Lane, like, there's people who, like, if you're like a wizard about it and you know all the tips and tricks, like, great, it'll work for you. But if you're just like an average, like, adding this on, it is super complicated. And I thought their version was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And we ended up only using it. So, I mean, we got very lucky with even it being summertime, but we waited in some longer lines. But a lot of things we walked right on. Like Pirates, we did a couple of times because we could just walk right on. Phantom Manor, we walked right on. Small World, we walked right on. So we only ended up paying for Premier Pass. You guys with us this one day for Big Thunder. And then we paid for it with at Disney Adventure World for the Rapunzel ride because it got a little long and it was like €4, very inexpensive. And then I think we paid for it for Tower of Terror, but instead of paying for their whole Premier Access one or Premier Access, this was the one because it's one ride, but Premier Access where you get all the rides for a larger price, I just feel like that's not worth it. And we were there again, it was busy and it was summer and it was a weekend. So I don't really foresee, unless you're going on like a holiday weekend, like a French holiday weekend, that it would be worth buying the one that you get it for every ride, unless you're only there for one park day and you absolutely have to get on everything. I just like the option of only having or getting being able to purchase for one attraction if you need it. And the wait, like we purchased it, and I think the return time was like an hour later. Like it wasn't like that night or something like that. So that was really nice. So what was your top ride, your favorite ride? And then what was the ride that you were like, could have done without this trip?
Big Thunder Mountain was my favorite just because it was Blake's first time, it was London's first time. Everybody loved it so much. That's my favorite roller coaster at Disney World. And there, I felt like it was even a little bit longer
Yeah.
than our version. I felt like everything there was just a little bit longer than what we have here, which made like waiting for it even more worth it. But it was amazing, like even better than the one we have here. I loved it. That was my favorite. I don't know that I have like a I mean the carousel was kind of but that's only because it broke down
Yeah.
for us, and like the carousel is a carousel. But yeah, I don't think I have anything that was like I'd skip that. Everything was fine.
Yeah, your answers are literally the same as mine. Big Thunder was my favorite. It lived up to the hype. It's the best one that I've been on out of the three that I've been on. and I loved it so much. I'm so glad all the girls loved it and got to go. And that is like my favorite memory of this trip is just all of us getting to go on Big Thunder and them loving it. The bottom ride for me, I put carousel, but same thing. And it is so funny that kids in general, but our kids too, see a carousel and they're like, the carousel, we have to go. And I'm like, what? Like, of all the things here, that's what, and it's like often the first thing you see when you walk into Fantasyland. So it's like right there, attractive, not usually a long wait, but we did wait a little bit for it. Yeah, and then it broke down. And that was our very first ride. So when it broke down, I remember thinking like, oh no, because you had told me like when I came here before, everything broke down. And I was like, oh no, are we gonna just break down on every single ride? But yeah, that everything else was great. There was nothing I really was like not, into that we took the time to do. Is there anything you wish you would have had time for at the park that we didn't get to do?
I wish I would have just walked through the new Arendelle land to see that. I bet they did an amazing job. Not
Yeah.
necessarily like the ride I have to do, but I think it would have been nice to walk around that land.
Yeah, it was very pretty. That's definitely the best part of Adventure World, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, but it was very pretty. Did you think that the time you had was enough time, or do you wish that you could have stayed another day or two?
If I would have stayed another day, I would have done a pool day at the hotel. I don't think that I needed more park time. I mean, I could always do my favorites at the park again or, see things that we don't have. But if I would have stayed another day, it would have been a pool day.
Okay. Yeah, my take on it is like it's very hard. I would always say like more time is better. Like I just love the parks and could be there so much, especially with all the girls together. That's just like the ultimate for me. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, give me 10 of these days." For the listeners that I didn't get to kind of round off our thoughts on both Disneyland and Adventure World. So I'll do that at the end of the episode, but I wanted to move a little bit into the second part of our trip, not for very long, but just kind of talking about what we did because we didn't get into this at all in the last episode. And so the last 6 days of our trip, we went to Mulan and stayed in this massive chateau for my mom's wedding. The chateau was beautiful. It was about 4 hours, a little less than that, south of Paris, but it was also quite the experience. Let's just start off with there was no air conditioning and it was getting up to 95 degrees during the day. So that doesn't exactly make everybody comfortable and happy and ready for family time. And I think we bought every single fan at the local Eclair, which is like their grocery store and like similar to Target. We just like purchased every single one because it was so hot and there were no fans either. So, what were your thoughts kind of on the countryside part of France? Because have you ever been anywhere else in France other than Paris?
No, it was really beautiful. The chateau was stunning. The character, the details of the house was amazing. No AC, and again, no ice was very hard. There's also less people that spoke English at the stores and
Hmm.
shops than in Paris. I thought a little bit harder to navigate if you're very limited on French like I am. Also just like the timing of eating was
Yeah.
different for me. And we were very lucky to have a French chef for a couple of nights who made some amazing things. But because I think the sun sets so late and they're just used to eating dinner later, I'm hungry at like 5 o'clock. And one time the chef has been working like hours to prepare this amazing meal that we didn't start eating until like 8 o'clock. So I'm needing a snack and I'm like
Yeah.
sneaking past him in the kitchen. Me and London are like eating potato chips that we had bought at the store. And he comes in and catches me and he's like, potato chips. And I'm sure I like offended him that I'm eating potato chips while he's like preparing this amazing meal. But I'm like, I'm hungry. I can't eat dinner at 8 p.m.
That is hilarious. Yeah, that is a great point. Like they are just a much more slower paced, have wine between all the courses, have cheese between the courses. Like
Yeah.
we haven't even talked about this yet, but the actual wedding day, it was so funny because they kept changing the time of like they were going to get married at 4. Well, then it was 95 degrees and it was so hot and sunny. And so they're like, okay, we're going to change it to 7:30. Well, then that was kind of late. I'm so glad they didn't do it that late, but it was cooler. So they're like, all right, we'll do 6 because that's kind of in between the two. And then we'll have the chef, we'll tell him, after the rehearsal taking so long with the dinner, they were like, we'll tell him to be ready with dinner by 7. I don't think we ate dinner until what, 9:30?
9, yes. Yeah, after
Like,
9 o'clock.
and you guys pieced out to bed before the actual cake because I don't think that came out until 11:30.
No, he had made like 3 or 4 cakes the night before, and we found them in the fridge early, ate those cakes, and then went in because there was bats starting to come out,
Sure
swooping around the
were.
table, and I did not want to end up in a French hospital in the countryside
With
because
rabies.
I got bit by a bat. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, there were bats. So it was so funny. One of my best friends from childhood, Rachel, got to come on this trip with us, and she was the photographer. She's an amazing photographer. I will link her again. I did on the pre-trip episode, but I'll link her again in this episode description. And she was editing one night outside, and she came in and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, there are bats like swooping." And I was like, "Okay, Rachel, whatever. I'm sure it was like a leaf, like blah blah." No, like the wedding night, there were so many bats. It was crazy. So yeah, that is, yeah, bats were a thing, and lots of flies and bugs and all kinds of things. Probably mice, we think. We're not sure in the house.
There was a bird
Uh,
in the house at one
yes.
point. Lots of adventures.
Lots of adventures. And we went to this little town called Cousette or Cousset, I don't know how you say that, for my mom's like girls' day, which again, this was so hard to be not from the area. They told us here's where the wedding is, and then I'm supposed to plan this girls' day, and like nobody speaks English, obviously. So I'm emailing these people with like my Google translated French, asking about like setting up a time with my mom for this girls' day. So we found this very nice lady who's from the UK that like let us come to her little shop. It was called the Cosi. I will link that as well. And she was the sweetest and had us kind of set up for a little drinks and dessert because that was the day of the rehearsal dinner. But that town was very adorable. I wish it wasn't so hot when we were there and we could have explored more because same with like Mulan's little downtown area. It was very cute, but we were all just like sweltering. And so were like not interested in looking around or being outside. But we passed this castle that I looked up. It's called the Chateau de Billy, which we thought that was hilarious. Like of all the names, Billy sounds like the most American name ever. And it was actually built in 1789 during the French Revolution. Yeah, I was like, this is crazy. That's like one thing about being in Europe is just how old everything is. The house we were staying in, I think, was from the 1600s, if I'm remembering right. But it was beautiful, and we just like didn't really get to spend that much time exploring. But what did you think about the little downtown area in Mulan? We did do some shopping there, and the little area where we went to in Cousette for the girls' day.
Mulan had great shopping. I found great pieces there for me and the girls. I could have spent like a whole day continuing to shop there. It's just so much fun going in stores for things that look different than what we have here
Yeah,
and feels special to bring back home because then you like wear it and you remember like your time there. So I loved shopping there. And the town that you found, you did a great job. It was so cute. It was beautiful, beautiful churches. Again, everything's just so historical and has so much more character and
yeah.
architecture is stunning. And the place that we were for drinks and dessert, she was so lovely. She did bring me ice.
She did.
She brought me a bowl of 3 whole cubes, and I was grateful for those 3 cubes of ice. But the desserts were so beautiful. They do desserts so well in France, and they're
Yeah.
just like stunning and also delicious. So that was a great day.
Yeah, it was so funny because this lady's like, "Oh, you asked for ice," and she's like, "I have an ice machine," and so she comes out with this bowl of like a couple of cubes of ice, and we're like, "No, no, if you have a machine, let's take some home. Like, we need ice. We need ice cubes." It was so funny. She must have thought we were insane, but she was so nice, and the desserts were amazing. I definitely tried things that I usually wouldn't have tried, but they had like familiar things like carrot cake, cheesecake, but then they had this like lemon custardy meringue type dessert and this chocolate Rice Krispie kind of dessert. They were really good. And then this like strawberry kind of shortcake thing. But it was delicious. I will make sure to link her shop there too. Another thing that I wanted to mention was when we were talking about the food and being hungry and all these things, every time we went out somewhere, like our shopping day, the girls' day, on the way back, we're like, we gotta eat. We can't be starving. The kids are hungry. So we would sneak McDonald's. And so we went the first day when I picked Rachel up from the train station and we're like, y'all, we're going to McDonald's because tonight the people we were with were cooking and they were supposed to do food from their country. And so they were supposed to do food from the Netherlands. And we're like, okay, we can get down with that. Like they have, reasonable food for the kids that like they will eat. Well, no, they made, what was it? Indonesian?
Invitation.
Okay, Indonesian food. And we were like, okay, this is not at all like super spicy. Like they kept saying how spicy it was going to be. And I was like, people, we have little kids and like they are not used to this. And we're not trying to be snobbish. Like some of the food was good. And like the chicken was like very good, very well spiced, very cooked. But we're like, we got to get some food before this because we're going to be starving. So we go to McDonald's and use this little stroller bag, orange car seat bag thing to sneak the McDonald's in the house. And my friend Rachel was like, you guys know, like, it'll be fine. Like, different culture and you guys can try something new. And we're like, we'll try it, but we want to make sure we're not hungry. So we did that a couple of times, like, went to get some McDonald's. And the McDonald's there was pretty similar to ours as far as the burgers. They don't believe in salt either. That's something else we learned. No salt. But what was the best thing you had at McDonald's?
Kit Kat McFlurry.
Yeah,
It was
hands
so
down.
good. They have really good McFlurry options that we don't have. And their McCafe is like a real cafe. Like
Yeah,
they have macaroons, they have croissants, they have amazing options in the McCafe. But yeah, the Kit Kat McFlurry was my favorite thing. The fries, you like miss the salt, and then everything else was pretty much the same. Like burger tasted the same, the
yeah.
nuggets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree. And that's Maddie's favorite thing too, was the Kit Kat McFlurry. But I ended up getting this M&M McFlurry that happened to have peanuts. I normally don't eat peanuts, but it was good with like caramel. I definitely ate it. So it was delicious. So before we get into our overall Disneyland Paris stuff, tell our story about our experience with Toy Story 5 and going to see the movie.
Well, as soon as I heard the release date for Toy Story 5 and I knew we were going to be in France, I'm like, how are we going to make that work? Because of course we have to see that the second it comes out.
Yeah.
So Olivia, who's so amazing at finding anything we could ever want on this trip, I tell her this and she's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And by some miracle, she finds a theater that shows Toy Story 5 in English with French subtitles. So I'm like so excited. Everyone's ready to go. And we prepare for this like we're in America, like we're in
Yeah.
our sweats. We got our blankies. We're ready to go. We get there, no AC. Of course, we should have expected this. There's no AC anywhere. And
Yeah.
like everyone's laughing at us. We're like bundled up for for a cold, chilly movie theater. No ice for your drinks,
No
no
ice.
salt on the popcorn, all of the things that we should have expected.
Oh,
But
and the key was when you asked for the Kit Kat balls, and the girl goes, I have to go get them. And we were like, oh, maybe they're just out. Why did she have to go get them?
yeah, because they would melt.
Because they were kept in the fridge. It's like wild. Why? And then we're like, okay, well, maybe it's just the lobby. Maybe the theaters are air conditioned. And so we go, first of all, this theater was huge, and you had to take escalators to get up
Multiple escalators.
Yes, like taking Blake to the bathroom was like an adventure in the middle of the movie. And when my dad and I did, we did a Toy Story 5 Patreon episode. So if you're on Patreon, check that out. But he was talking about this part of the movie, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, that must have been on my 15-minute adventure to the bathroom with Blakeland because I had to take an elevator down to go to the dang bathroom. It was crazy. But yeah, there was no air conditioning. So Maddie's like got his sleeves rolled up, his pants rolled up. Blake's literally sweating, won't take her sweatshirt off, but is sweating. And we're all just sitting in there eating like hot popcorn with our lukewarm drinks and just like whatever. But the kids had the best time. What a fun memory that we're all going to talk about for the rest of our lives, like going to see Toy Story 5 in France in the sweltering 95-degree heat. It was wild. How hot do you think it was in there? Like 85 degrees?
Yeah, I was sweating.
It was so, and you never sweat. I feel like you are a Florida girl.
Yeah,
Keep your
I'm
AC
good
on
with heat,
80.
and it was rough. Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough. Oh my gosh, so funny. Okay, so last thing before Disneyland Paris, the hotel we stayed at, it by the airport, did you feel like that was a decent hotel? Would you recommend it, not recommend it? And same thing with, we didn't actually talk about it, but the hotel in the city of Paris, what were your thoughts on that hotel too?
That was a great location. You did a really good job finding that super walkable to everything that we wanted to go to. The rooms were nice. The everyone who worked there was super friendly. If you needed directions or recommendations, like she would tell me where her favorite cafes were to go, the best ones, where to find them. That was a great hotel. The one by the airport was exactly what you would want if you just want to be quick by the airport. Super clean, had AC, restaurant was great,
Yeah.
um, good location, easy.
And the restaurant had breakfast that we bought. I mean, we purchased this hotel very last minute, the one by the airport, because the other one we had planned for a while in the city of Paris. I'll link that too. But the Hyatt at the airport, we purchased not that long before because we kind of changed our plans to get there a little earlier than anticipated. And it came with breakfast, and it was like this super nice breakfast buffet I mean, the price for the hotel was like very reasonable. So I was surprised. But yeah, I was definitely, happy with that place. So overall thoughts on Disneyland Paris. Do you feel like Disneyland Paris lived up to your expectations of going back? Or do you feel like, because I know you kind of had set the bar kind of low, so because your last experience was like fine, but not amazing. So do you feel like it exceeded your expectations, met your expectations, or wasn't as good as you thought it would be?
I think it exceeded my expectations. Disney World just feels so much like home that
Mm-hmm.
being at a different Disney is kind of weird that like just not knowing exactly like where you're going and how it is, but the hotel was incredible. I thought the park itself was maintained really beautifully.
Yeah.
Um, I wish that they had more specific because it's Disneyland Paris. I wish there was more like Beauty and the Beast. I wish there was a little
Mm-hmm.
Aristocats moment. Those
Yes.
little
Hunchback.
things, yeah, those things I think would just make it very special for the location. And I find it strange that they don't have more of those, but I absolutely loved it. It was so magical. I would go again. It was great.
Okay, good. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, the questions that I got in my box when I was asking, like, what do you want to know about Disneyland Paris before we left, was like, compare it to the US parks. I don't think you should. Like,
No.
don't compare it. It's its own thing. We are huge Disney World people. I like Disneyland. You're indifferent about Disneyland, but I obviously, love obsessed with Disney World. But it's not that, but it shouldn't be. It can't be. It's like it has to be its own thing. And so I think in my head, I tried to really lower my expectations of like not making it better than Disney World, but like its experience as a whole, and almost thinking of it as a totally different theme park that like happens to be Disney, and like what did we like about it. But yeah, it's special in its own way. The castle is absolutely beautiful. I think it's my favorite castle. I love it. I loved just like how small it is, similar to Disneyland California, just much easier to get around with the kids. Disneyland Hotel we'll get into as well in a second, but stunning, gorgeous. it's, breathtaking, and the ability to be able to just walk in and out so easily was awesome. But the only thing about Paris that I feel like fell short, the two things that I feel like kind of fell short for me was the food was fine. It was all right. There's nothing special about it. I didn't find any snacks that I was like, oh yeah, this is to die for, like I do at Disney World or Disneyland. And the merchandise. Like we looked in a few shops and I did not end up buying anything for myself at Disneyland Paris. And in at Disney World, I have to like restrain myself from buying all the things. So I feel like it just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't that great, which I've heard from other people. But I thought the attractions, some of them were better than the US parks, some of them were the same, some of them were not great, but that's everywhere. For Disney Adventure World, a question that I got was, do you feel like it's worth a full park day? So my thoughts on Disney Adventure World, to sum it up, are I can't believe what it was before Arendelle. Like it is extremely small. It is so random. Hollywood Studios is my favorite park, and this often gets compared to that, I guess because the studios are movie theme, but it's not at all that. We came at a time when two of the major shows weren't showing. So the Frozen show, which is different than our US Frozen show, because I hate that show, wasn't showing, and that's supposed to be good. Or I heard it was different. I don't know that for sure. And then Mickey the Magician was supposed to be on and was closed the 2 days that we went there. And that is supposed to be amazing. The Pixar show that I took the girls to the day that you weren't there was very cute, very well done, had a live orchestra. That was fantastic. I wish we could have gotten to do the Lion King show, which
Yeah, me too.
yeah, we missed that. Liv was tired, my mom was sleeping, and London was like, I'm not interested. So, and my girls couldn't care less. So we did more rides, which is fine. But I've heard that is amazing. We love Lion King. That's one of our favorites. So I think Disney Adventure World, though, is just kind of still struggling to like find its place and like what it's supposed to be. And I think it's worth going over to and seeing it if you like to ride rides. They have some great big attractions there. Tower of Terror was really cool. The Iron Man coaster is a great coaster, Crush's coaster. But the whole Toy Story section and Cars section could be wiped flat. Never need to see it again and do something else. Like do a World of Pixar over there because that's kind of where the Nemo and Ratatouille area is. But like all of their rides over there are like fair rides and kind of like Disney California Adventure, what they have like on the boardwalk. But they're just not like my kids didn't even care about them. And so I'm just like, I don't know, that whole park is just missing something for me. It's not one that I think you need to skip, but if you have to choose between the two, go to Disneyland for sure. The other question that I got about that park was, do you think the expansion with World of Frozen and Lion King will change the park? World of Frozen has definitely already changed the park for the better. The Lion King ride, which is supposed to be like a Splash Mountain, Simba Pride Rock drop water ride, will be great. The Up ride that's going to be over there, that's just like a swings ride. I think they should do something different and not do that. I wish they would do more Lion King. But yeah, I think it's cool, but it still doesn't make me like die to go back to that park. But Disneyland, I liked a lot. Okay, so Latoya, if we came back to tomorrow to Disneyland Paris, what's the first thing you would do?
Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then catch the shows, all the shows that we missed. I think that would be my next.
Yeah, yeah, definitely Big Thunder Mountain and definitely wish we could have seen some more shows. If we were to go back, would you want to stay at the Disneyland Hotel or try somewhere different?
I don't think that would matter to me. The hotel was a incredible, no notes. They do everything well, but I'm not a big, like the hotel isn't that important to me. I prefer more like what you're doing at the park than like where I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that's true. The huge benefit of the hotel for me was we were inside of security, so we did not have to go through security for the parks at all. And that in and of itself was almost worth the huge cost that the hotel cost because I was just like, it was so nice to be so close. And all of the other hotels, you have to go out of security to and back through every time you come back and forth. And just, yeah, how magical it was. There was so much of that hotel that we didn't get to see. I wish we could have done pool time. I wish we could have eaten at one of the restaurants. I didn't even go in a gift shop, which I realized like later. I was like, oh my gosh, I never even went in any of the hotel gift shops. So there was a lot that we didn't get to do. So I think I'm spoiled and don't know that I could stay anywhere else now that we've stayed there. What is a moment from this trip that you think you will remember forever?
Probably like watching the girls watch the fireworks show because it's different than ours. It was such a great view and they did such a beautiful job. I loved the projections, like seeing Belle and Beast like dance
Oh,
on the castle. I'm like, I will remember that forever.
so good. Yeah, it was a good show. And it's not the same. Like, people are like, oh, is it as good as Happily Ever After? Like, not necessarily the fireworks because they don't do as much fireworks, but the projections were beautiful and really, really cool. And we got lucky because they actually didn't do the fireworks like starting 2 days after our trip. They stopped all that because of how hot it got. So I'm grateful we got to see it as we did. And I still thought it was so beautiful. So, so beautiful. Wow. So it's crazy to think this trip is already over. Like, when we were driving back, or when I was driving you to the airport, maybe, I was like, this feels like a fever dream. Like, did we even go? It went so fast and we've been planning it for so long. It just is crazy that it's over. But I wish that we could have had a little more time in the city, a little more time at Disneyland Paris together. Like, I wish all the girls could have been together for all of those days. But I am glad we have some trips on the books where we will all be back in the magic together because it's my absolute favorite having these four girls at the parks. And I was kind of worried. It's been a while since we've gone all together, and London's at that age where she's either going to still think it's so magical or she's going to be like over it. And she still was like so into it. And that just made me so happy. I was like, okay, yes, my girl, I should have known, but just making sure that you still love this, and she does. So that's so fun. It won't be long before I am back in the parks. From the time of this episode airing, it will be a little over 2 months from leaving for Disney World for the Every Ride Challenge. So you guys will hear more about that in the coming weeks. But that is all for today and all of the Disneyland Paris magic that we have for you guys. If you're going to be traveling to Disneyland Paris or have any questions, feel free to reach out by DM or email soarinaroundwdwpod@gmail.com. And we are happy to answer any questions that you guys have. We had a great experience. So thank you so much again for being here, Latoya. And we will have you back on for some of our fun upcoming trips that we have planned.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram at SoarinAroundWDWPod, where we share fun reels, throwback photos, and dive into weekly polls and debates. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to follow and hit that 5-star button. If you are over on YouTube, subscribe and leave us a comment as well. If you're listening on Apple, a 5-star rating and a written review would mean the world. You can also now support the show through our Patreon at patreon.com/SoarinAroundWDW podcast by becoming a free or paid member and finding exclusive content and bonus episodes and videos there too. Thanks again for joining us. Catch you on the next flight.